So imagine that I want to make the fireball. Okay, I want it to be a size of one grid. I can make it half, or I can make it very big. But I think that one grid is good, which I want to have the PPU 128. So let's make that. As I want that my fireball has kind of motion in the air, and I want to create animation for that, and it consists of 4 frames. So okay, say one of the each of them are this, and I need 4 frames. Okay, so I need some width of this. The height is not important. I can change it later, but okay, let's create. And I want that I have 4 chunks of 128. So I go to Edit Preferences and to this and make sure that is this. Now I have 4 chunks. And I decrease the height. So here I draw my fire animation. Okay, I have made um, a basic fire animation, the frames actually. Then the tip of your fire, they're just randomly placed. They have to be, for example, if this start from this position, they all have to start from this position, which currently they are not. So for example, you say, okay, that is the first chunk and it's in the middle. So bring it into this part. So like this. You can even use the ruler to make sure that they stick to that part. And this and this. Just you have one place, just this part is not moving, so it has to stay at the same place. But the tail is moving, so it's natural that they have different positions. For example, this is here, this is here. That's fine. That's how the animation works. But from here, that it is not moving, they should have all the same position here. It is first. It should be in the first grid of this chunk. Okay. Otherwise, your animation will be very weird. I can drop that here. Set the PPU to 128. Make as it consists of 4 pictures. So I set the sprite mode to multiple. And go to Edit. So there you have it. And go to Grid by Cell. It was 128 by 128. So I go there and give these numbers for each chunk. And then you have it, hit a slice and click apply. Now you have 4 of them. And the pivot point, let it stay here, it's not important. And close it, and now you have 4 sprite. You want to make animation. Select all 4 of them. First select the first one, press Control, and select all of them, release the control, drag and drop them here. So where does animation go? Usually go to Animation Player, make a new folder for the fireball. Actually, it is not a ball, but okay, we know what it means. So that is the idle. Because we need to make animation for the explosion as well. So we have 2 status. One that is shooted, which I call it idle because it doesn't do anything except that it is moving. And also explosion, which I will show you the animation later. Okay, save that. Now it is something like this. Okay, here is the explosion animation. Make sure that all of them has the same center. For example, this, this, move it a little bit, and this and this. Okay, and you can check that by bringing the background. This is fine. It is only shown in a split of a second in the real game, so don't worry if this is not perfect. For example, I just made one and paste them here, and here I just made them a little bit further, and here just the fire is going to be extinguished, something like that. And then save that and bring it to your project as a PNG file. That's it. 128 point. Sprite mode multiple because I have multiple pictures there. And it was 128 by 128. And don't drag and drop it because it will show you another animation with a different controller. So go to your fireball, create new clip, and call it explode. Save it. And make sure that you're here and make sure that it is recording. Now go there and select this one and in another frame select this one and the third one and the fourth one. Something like this. So that is your fire and that is explode. For example, when it hits to something or when it hits to enemy, it just shows this explosion. Okay. You can make it a little bit faster. For example, I put it here, here, here. And I duplicate that so that it will more emphasize on the last one. Now we also need to make animation for the player to show the um, when he's shooting the fire, he should have the the suitable animation for that. So I call it shoot, or every name that you're comfortable with. And here, let me go to the scene view. As my the sprite is kind of ruined, so I borrowed the first frame from other animations and I give it to this, and now you see that it is fixed. Now I press record. Okay, and I want that here the main part comes like this. The head tilts a little bit like this. The front one as it is kind of ugly, I don't want that the backhand do that. So I make that from this the fire is shoot. But if you have a good backhand, yes, you can bring it here so that the fire will be shoot from here. But I think that this model is ugly for that. So I bring it here. So when it is raised, kinda, um, the uh, uh, the fireball is shooted from this place. I can also, for example, make it red up here. First, just play with this and return it to this position so the keyframe is made. And here, change it to some color so it shows that okay, the magic has been, um, you know, has been spawning. Make it a little bit brighter, something like that. Don't worry if you zoom in, you see that it disappears because you have different layer. You know, I give these numbers and they are different. Nobody zooms in the game, so don't worry. It's just in the editor. And also this food, it goes here. And the rope or the cape is in that form. The backhand is, I have to move that. Okay. Something like this. Make sure all of them has a keyframe. And I'm putting it a little bit down. Rotate. And here it stays. And then it goes to its natural position. So your fire shooting animation is like this. Now let's give our fireball a box collider 2D so that it can interact with the other things that has a collider. So let me decrease it so only the fire itself could hurt, not the glow part. Something like that. Then if you want that your fireball has some realistic movement and to be affected by the gravity, you can add the rigid body 2D. For example, when it hit the wall, it can kind of bounce off. You can make the gravity 0 if you want that it only moves in a straight line. But I like that my fireball, after it passes some, for example, when it comes to here, it can be affected by the gravity and falls down. Okay, so I like to keep that. Um, so that's it. And also don't forget that you make it a prefab. So let's go here, make a prefab folder. Prefab. Okay, and get rid of that. The prefab is good because you can unlimitedly use that. And if you want to change, for example, the color, You can do here once, and oh, and all of them are changed. So this is very useful and handy. And also for the instantiating, you have to use the prefab. Okay, so that's it. And we go to the player. In the player attack, you can make another script, but you can also use that one. And also, I want for the UI, if you want to export for game for the phone, also you can have a button here. For example, for the PC, you hit the right click of the mouse, but for the mobile, you have a button here, and if you press on that, they trigger the fire shooting. So do you remember we had this? So disable that and drag and drop one of your fires to here. I can enlarge it, which is not a good idea because it's kind of make it blurry. But for the simplicity of the tutorial, I just use this, and or you can -90. For now, just use this one. So this is our button. And you can change the color of the button, but yeah, just make it red. I can drag and drop it here and make it this and this. So your UI was here. It was in the jump, melee. Just say, for example, fire or magic, whatever that you're comfortable with, and bring it down. Oh, let me change the picture. I think that they're too big. Can move it here. Okay, that's better. But don't make it too small because on the phone, people are not comfortable pressing these buttons. And also, the different phone might, for example, um, change the ratio of that. So always keep a safe distance from the margins. For example, don't bring your bottom here. Yes, maybe here it shows perfectly, but on some phone maybe it just disappeared and went really, really down. Something like this is good. Because I have, some margins here left for some errors if, for example, one phone is not supporting this ratio. So that's it. Now I have this button. I want that I have to write the code for that. So go to script. It was here. And add a new action, just like we did for the melee. Call it fire. For example, you give the left button. Here you give it the mouse, the right button. And you can also add for gamepad and different things, add new bindings as you did here for the gamepad. You can also add it here, but for now, This is fine. And also remember that you said press only. So add an interaction press only. And I think that's fine. And I go here. Oh, I didn't write the code, but okay. And I say mouse right button. So that's it for the UI. And let's go to base code. I don't need this one. So let me close them. So, you remember from the previous course that what we should do for instantiating a fire? We should have a fire, we got a prefab, a fire, a place that it is going to be shooted, and also the rotation. So the code is very simple. You say private void, for example, cast fire. Oh, I have to exactly give the name that was script layer here. That was here. I just add on fire. Okay. So this is a function, and it automatically detects that one and give it to the right click and also the UI. Okay, so it has to have the same name. So what do you want to do? We just want to instantiate and make the fire. So we give it that. It says serialized field or public. So private. So we have a game object because there's a prefab of the fire. Fire. Okay. And now from which place? Then we say transform fireplace. So we need these two things. So it's instantiate. What to instantiate? The fire. Where? In the fireplace position. That position. And how about the rotation compared to the... let me bring the prefab. I should keep this. Yes, keep that. And I say quaternion.identity. Quaternion.identity. It means that do not rotate that. Just keep the um, original rotation of that, which is that. Okay. And now I should go to the inspector, go to player, give the fire prefab, and for the fireplace, I add an empty game object and say fireplace, and I make that, I give it that so that I know where it is. Okay. We have to first go to our animation, go to shoot. So we wanted the fire be kind of instantiate from this place, right? So I give it here. I make the place here. So let me. So where it is beside this grid. Because sometimes when I change that, the animation resets to its normal position. So something like this. Be careful that it doesn't collide with the collider of the player. Otherwise, it would be destroyed. Just give it a little bit of space from here. And that's fine. Yeah, it's good to go. Oh, I didn't say which animation we should use. The fireplace have not been. So that is a fireplace. And I also need to go to Animator and because and it's also a trigger because only once we want that it will be triggered when we press the button. And let me call it shoot, and I give it the shoot one, and it has to have exit time. So when it shoots, what else happened? It goes, yeah, when the animation is over, it has to go to idle. So it has that, and I want that most of the animation will be played, and this is empty. And make sure this is not loop time. Okay, none of them. None of the triggers should have loop time. Everything is set, but I have to go to the code and say, okay, you do that, but which animation should be played? I say anim, that's set trigger, shoot, which was, exactly the name of the trigger that I gave it in the animator. So be careful that you exactly give that name here. So now let's try it. So it is instantiated correctly, but you see that he has some problems. Yes, it is not moving, which is a different thing, and I show you later how to do that. But let's fix everything about a player. As soon as I hit the right button, right click button, it is instantiated, even if the hand is here. I want that the hand reach here, and then it's instantiated. So I need a delay. Also, this works as well. And also, you see that I can spam that, and I give it doesn't have any cooldown timer, and I just set the whole scene to fire. So first, it does need a cooldown timer. So we have it here. It was for the attacking melee attack, so I give it number 2, 2, 1 second and a half. And I also Control D on that and will duplicate it too. And here I also need an enumerator, and I say delay magic. So the on fire, let me make another function, private void cast fire. I make it separate because I want that this stays here and this stay and it goes here. So delay magic, delay this one. And there are other ways that you can do that. Just break it down into different things so you can better understand this. Okay, that this is waits for. Um, so let's go to animation of the player. The shoot. How much does it take? I think it takes to 0.2. Wait for that and then cast the fire. Okay. We can also directly write it down here and get rid of that. There are different ways. I show you all of them so you can better understand it. You can give it to another function or just directly say it here. And then in here you say start quarantine. Oh, on my keyboard sometimes I have to, kind of beat the hit the keyboard so that will work. And I say start quarantine. Yes, no, delay magic. As this function, I give this parenthesis function or method. They are all the same name for the same thing. Okay. So now it gives that delay, and then, for example, the fire is shooted. So when the animation is played and I hit on the right button, when it gets here, then the fire is shooted. But in the previous, when we didn't write the code, it just, when we were here, the fire was instantiated. It was very ugly. We have to first get here, and then the fire is instantiated. That's why I use this. Now, yes, we fixed the problem for the animation, but how about the cooldown? So let me say that if timer 2 is more or equal to cooldown timer 2, it does the thing, and then the timer 2 is equal to 0. And when it gets to 0, then it continues to add the number, and when it hits 2 and it becomes more than the cooldown timer, which was 1.5 seconds, then I'm allowed that to instantiate that. And if I click on that, then these things happens. Otherwise, if it is less than this and I press a button, the code is not executed. So now let's go and see how it works. You see? Now I cannot spam that, and it's only is able to be shooted only after 1.5 seconds. And also the timing is good for instantiating the fire. But as you see, they don't move. So they kind of burn myself. So I wanted it to be shooted towards this. So let's write the code. Here you can, for example, say game object geo and then you give it a velocity. But for example, imagine that we have different fire, different orbs, and I want to give them specific damage. Then I need to do that in their code. Yes, I can do that here, but I need to make it somehow neat. So go to script player and make the name player fire. It means that I give this code to the fire prefab, not to the player itself. So let me do that here. Go here, add components, search for fire, player fire. So I give the code directly to the fire itself. Let's open that. So first thing first, we want that it moves. So my prefab, it has a rigid body. So I say here private rigid body to the RB. And then here, so which are the rigid body of the um, get component rigid body 2D. That is, I mean this, not others rigid body. So I just directly say that. And also, yes, as soon as it is instantiated, as it doesn't move, and I don't want to modify the velocity, let us first give it a velocity, and it just uh, as I don't change that, so it's good to be here in the start. So I say rb dot velocity equal. I say transform dot right. It means that it moves the fireball in the direction that it's already faced, and we give it a speed, and let me go here. Private int speed, for example 10f speed. Just move here, and yeah, that's it. And then what? Oh, it is float. That's why it's set weird. And then let me show you give you the rest of the code after we test that. Okay. So yeah, I play that, and then but do you see that? It is weird. Not only that it is facing me. For example, when I want to shoot, when I'm in this direction, I wanted the fireball shoot in that direction. First, don't pay attention that it didn't move in that. Just pay attention that because you want to solve the problem one step by one step. Here it works good, but here the fire is the tip of that, it's towards me. If you have an orb which is circular, it's not important. But as it is the tip and the tail are different, then I want to make sure that this face is looking at that direction, not looking at me. So let me first fix that problem. Here, in the instantiated part, we have to say a condition. We say if, because if this is a prefab, I think if I rotate it 180, this would work. So right now it is 0. I say if this, it means that the code that is this code that is on the current game object, which is a player, transform that. We can delete this, but transform that local scale that x. Do you remember that we had it when, for example, for the player movements, we said that, where was that? It was here. It was less than 0. It means that the player is already facing left. If it is more than 0, it means that the player is looking right. We also have that. We want to say, if the player, for example, more than 0, it means that the player is facing right, okay? It means that, okay, fine, instantiate that. Else if that is less than 0, it means that the player is looking at left, thus x is less than 0. Then we have to say instantiate. Yes, a fireball. Yes, in the fireplace. Because as a fireplace is the child of this, so um, scale. So it moves as well. So don't worry, the placement is correct. Don't change that in the code. So it moves. So yes, fireplace that position. But here's a quaternion that allure. Do you remember that I told you that in the prefab we have to change this to that? Oh, it's coming towards me. So yes, this would be correct. This would face in that alone. So we say this, this, this. Remember the sequence. For x we say 0, for y this and this. Okay, now we have this condition. If it was a circle thing, then it would be fine. But if you have a shape um, like this, that the tip and the tail is different, then you have to consider this. Now let's go and try that game. You see? It is fixed. We also have another problem. Actually, more than one problem, but let's fix that one by one. It stays forever. And you see that? This is bad for performance. Not only is visually stupid that it stays here because it had to be destroyed, but it only stays here. So let's first fix the animation. We say on collision interdelete. It means that if the fireball collide with anything, then we say in either case it has to, show the animation of destroying, which was, let me give the animator private animator anim. Then here's a which animator, which is a which is a component of that game object. I mean this prefab game object. And we also need to go there and make a trigger. This is the fireball. You have this and this. Your animator sometimes like this, something like this happens. Don't worry, just close it. And go to Window, Animation, and Animator. And this is fixed. And wherever that you zoom, you put your mouse, it will be zoomed. Now go to parameters and make a trigger. Explode, for example. And make a transition to explode. And it's not looped because it only happens once. And give it explode. Let's make it 0. And now, what happens? Do we need to say exit? No, it is destroyed. So that would be completely destroyed. So we don't need to say, okay, make an exit, like this, have an exit time. No, because it is destroyed and we don't even see what would happen next. And this is the only animation, this is the last animation that we see from this one. So let's go to there. So what would happen? Say anim dot set trigger to explode. Now let's see what would happens. You see, something like this happens, and the worst part is that it is still here and bad for performance, and also it's something stupid like this happens. So let's fix that. You say, okay, just destroy. For example, you say that here, and then here. If it hits, um, destroy the game object, it means that this prefab after um, something like this. How long was my animation? No, they explode. It was this. Okay. After that, destroy it. And what if it doesn't collide to anything and it just goes forever? It also is not destroyed. So we want to make sure that it is destroyed. Let's say game object after 5 seconds, destroy that. It doesn't care that if it is collided with something or not. It's just destroyed it after 5 seconds. But if it collides to something, it will be immediately destroyed. Or say after this amount of time, it will be destroyed. So now let's go and test that. You see? It's here and this is destroyed. Now imagine that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then this is destroyed, okay? Because sometimes it goes nowhere and it collides to nothing. But it collides so that it immediately is destroyed, okay? So what does it do? It just does nothing. It just make the scene a little bit lighter. We want that it inflicts damage to the enemy. So we say how much damage. Private. I make it serializable because maybe you have different fire. So instead of making a separate code, you also give this code to that second fire, and you just change this number, the number of damage, or just change the speed. You can do that in the inspector, and don't change the code. You just can use this code multiple times. So say private damage. It's int. Why int? Because it was int. And I say damage. For example, I make it 5 or 20. And I say on collision inter 2D. Do you remember that it was in the enemy layer? So we say if, so we select the enemy layer, because for example it collides to a friend of mine. For example, imagine that there's an NPC. It will collide to that. It will have an explosion effect and destroying, but it shouldn't decrease their health. Only if they are enemy and they have for example, this code and this function, then I have to take damage from them. Okay? So here, collision, which is this is something that has collided to it. Collision dot game object. Which game object? Dot, I say the layer the game objects that are in the layer, which layer, layer mask, that's name to layer, to go there, the layer is enemy. Sorry, it has to be equal. Then, remember that if you have enemy, for example, this, you might have, let me control D, you might have another enemy, okay? They all have to, it's not important what is their tag, what is their name, they should all have the same layer, and also they share the same code, and they have this function. Otherwise, you have to, for each enemy, you have to say, okay, get components of that. I will show you in the minutes. Because if I tell it like this, you might not understand. So let me go here. Here. So if, okay, enemy is detected. So what to do? If I want to have access to that, first I have to get this. Okay. I go to enemy, to this, and then to this. And that, do you remember that I make it public so other codes can have access to that? Then collision dot game object that get component. Which components? For example, it is which component? The enemy health. The enemy health. Okay. Now I have access to the code inside that, which is this take damage. The take damage, I have to give it a number, which is the damage. This one. Okay. So that's it. So now let's try it. You can make your fireball, a trigger, and instead of on collision, say on trigger. You can do both ways. So it says 5 because at first I made it to be 5. So be careful. I go here. The damage is 20, but decreases 5. Weird. Okay, I set that again. So you see, decreases 20 health. This work and also this work. So that's it. So please, for your homework, do these things and make your player to be able to attack and also to be able to shoot the fire. And then you want to, from the next session, you want to go to other concepts.